And let's have a look at this. Oh my goodness gracious. Look at that. Clavel Gris, this is an animation masterclass. It was made by 3 artists that poured everything, their dedication and their research into just 45 seconds. And the results are absolutely staggering. And I want to share them with you today. The theme of this was Mexican folklore, a subject which I am not at all familiar with, about the journey of the human soul through the Aztec afterlife. That's the synopsis of the story here. Let's watch it. That's quite incredible. I remember seeing that first time and it really leaving an impression on me, and I think everyone else in the audience as well. It got a really big applause. I'm going to break down some of the animation, but first let's just have a look at some of the scenes again. First of all, we get this still shot. You see this baby that's sleeping by the lamp. But then look at this character introduction. Like, look at how haunting that is. To just rise above the bed, what looks like staring at you. It's this odd combination of like a mouse or a wolf, like you can't really tell, with the rest of it being human features. Now this is something that I've only noticed on this viewing here. It has the furnishings of a bedroom, but then if you look closely in the background, you can see chairs that are lined up in a row. That's not like a bedroom. They're like pews, right? They're like church chairs. This isn't a bedroom. It's a funeral. Now you don't see that on the first viewing, you see it later. And of course the film concludes with this shot of the baby lying still, the flower petals falling off of the plant. A very subtle, elegant way of saying that baby is deceased. And the underworld is occupied by these giants. Maybe they're like deities, like gods. But this mouse wolf is kind of like the spirit guide or the shepherd. From the music, this beautiful but eerie jazz music, we get this feeling that there is danger here. It's uncertain. There's this uncertainty of this crossing over into the next world. And we're not going to break this bit down frame by frame, but look at the hand performances. This is clearly very heavily referenced, like they've gone out and performed this kind of movement and then very closely followed the reference. But look at the performance in the hands particularly. The way that hand just very carefully just comes around the baby's head. You can see with the care with which she handles the baby that he's actually shepherding this baby through to the next life and protecting the baby from these spirits. Just very gentle. A little close-up of the feet. And this is the shot I think that everyone remembers when the lightning illuminates this face in the sea. This is a very, very striking image. I don't really need to say more than that. The textures that are in the background is like very dramatic, stormy oil painting textures. I love it. This is a great cut here. So cuts and he's tiny and he's on the end of this bowstring from a cello. And this is the shot we're going to break down here. Let's see if we can break down that little sequence. That sequence is too good to miss. So we start here in what looks like the pupil of an eye. It's kind of like an eye, right? And there's this orb-like reflection of the character. This character's kind of working within this circle, right? If you wanted to do this really easily and not have it at that world-class level, you could just have everything moving flat, the character moving across here, you know, in this kind of graphic look, but they're not. They actually have this character following the refraction, the rotation and the distortion that would be created of seeing him as a reflection. I think I know how they're doing this kind of granular effect, this grainy effect with the lights and all of the gradients. It's actually an effect in TV Paint. If you look at the end credits, you have the TV Paint logo. So it's quite possible that this is actually how they did it. There is, in the custom brush settings, there is a noise setting, a kind of blending mode of sorts that you can use. I actually have designed a brush specifically with this feature. So it looks kind of like this. You can see me emulating it here. It gets this very kind of gritty, granular texture that I really like. It brings it from the digital medium back into the look of analog animation again. Here's another one. I created this even spray can effect. So I think that's how they did that. So let's continue. So we see this hand looming out and kind of grabbing the mouse wolf from behind. It's very efficient storytelling in this. It has to be because it's such short runtime. This journey through the underworld. Just have a look at this hand grab him from behind. And of course, before you really understand what's going on, you realize you're actually being taken through to the next sequence, right? This is all happening within here. That's where your focus is. But then it just starts to edge its way up the screen. And this is why this storytelling is so smooth, so sleek that you're drifting through this semi-conscious experience because there aren't hard cuts in this sequence. And we're like, what is this? What is this? And then we get the eyes. So we're like, okay, this is kind of like an eye on the hood of this new character. Look at this design. Very, very striking. You've got eyes on the head, teeth, but we're not seeing the whole thing. It's very heavily vignetted. If we see, there's a very thick, dense, dark vignette all around the image that kind of shrouds it in mystery and obscurity. But we see these bright, bright eyes. And I especially like the lighting effect here as it goes round on these circular discs, very playful, and it dances around. Look at these shapes created here. I haven't done that much of deep historical research, but they clearly have. It feels very informed by this folklore. They've clearly done their research. Lizard or a gorilla or something, we can see the eyes here. That there is what was initially the reflection that we saw. And now our two protagonists arrive back in the shot, this time not a reflection. And this deity brings them closer like this. Hold on to your butts with this one. So the deity starts to blow. We can see that with the mouth shape. Let's have a look at what happens here. So it starts at the base of the wrist. And let's have a look at this. Oh my goodness gracious. Look at that. Let me just replay that a few times for you. So we're seeing a few different layers come apart here. Now, often when I'm looking at a really advanced piece of animation like this, the first thing I think is, I wonder what their basis of the reference was. Like, where did they turn to for reference? And that's what excites me about this piece here. There really is no source of reference that you can pull directly from, because materials don't typically behave like this. Like, a human hand can't just disintegrate when you blow on it. So this is kind of like reference from pure imagination, I suppose. And it's informed by knowledge of certain liquids. You have a kind of blood layer here that's kind of bubbling, and then you have this kind of paper texture. And we're going to see the paper later on as well in the next cut of the sequence, but there's this paper texture that's just underneath the skin. It's profoundly elegant and well crafted. But you have this peeling away of multiple layers just from a little of blowing. This is profound animation. Before we even get into the deeper connections to folklore and things, just on a technical level of consideration for the materials and the way things move and what can look aesthetically, this is really advanced stuff. I don't even need to tell you that, you can see it yourself. So we start on the outer layer and we've got these little ripples that emanate here. And then this is it just kind of falls apart just from a little breath. Look at this. You can see the skin very delicately just being bunched apart. Let's see. Now we're starting to see the little bits of the paper texture coming up. And then it just all hell breaks loose on this frame. And we've got another layer underneath. You can see they're slightly differentiated by the color. This is an even deeper red. So it starts with green, then it goes to this kind of paper texture. It's not bone, it's like paper. And then there's this red of the outer layer, and then another layer of the deep, deep kind of blood red. This is like the liquid layer. Wow, and it's almost like a flower, how this is created. But everything, everything here is just maintaining this very just smooth, delicate piece of movement here with the breath. And then we have this amazing cut. So we have the paper again. This is the same paper that we saw before, that paper layer. And I'm just gonna play it so you can see this part. There's a lot of detail, a lot of things packed into this little piece here. So first of all, we have this very, very delicate, ornate paper strips that are blowing in the same direction. So we have this visual link where there's the blowing that's going from screen left to screen right, and then we have the paper that's following the breeze, right? Maybe it's caused by the same exhalation of breath, exhalation, kind of ending the mortality of the whole theme, right? We have this village here, strange village. I don't know what village this is, but it's shrouded in these plumes of smoke that's almost engulfing the whole village. And there's this big tree that grows out. It's way bigger than the village. Now have a look at these plumes of smoke. This is an interesting part. I'm going to step through it frame by frame so you see it. So you can see when we go back here that it starts with the one that's closest to screen left, so this one. And then this one is affected, and then this one, and then this one. Have a look. One after another. And then finally it reaches these last plumes over here. That's a great attention to detail there. And it creates this kind of flow to the whole thing. That gust of wind finally reaches the last plume of smoke. And look at the width of this. It's got this variable width because it's like paper, right? It's not going to be like this all the time. It's going to be like this, It's going to do these kind of things because it's a flat surface. Attention to detail. It's very, very, very good. Gobelins, for their Annecy selection, they pick these dense, rich themes such as Mexican folklore in 2023. And when you do that, you're bound to depict something weird and wonderful and bring something to the audience that's sitting in that cinema, ready to see something different. You're going to bring something to them that they haven't seen before or that they don't typically see. That's why I love Annecy Festival. It's why I love a lot of the Gobelins films. Just a note on Gobelins, because we haven't actually talked a lot about Gobelins on this channel, despite Gobelins being a huge player in the space that I'm passionate about, which is kind of this fine arts, high arts space of 2D animation. I do feel like with some of these top academies that they're not so much in the business of education, they're more in the business of curation. Sometimes it feels that way, although I haven't been to Gobelins, so I wouldn't know. I have a few friends who have been to Gobelins animation. Even before they take the courses in Gobelins, their portfolios are already top notch. So their reputation as an academy, it generates a ton of applications for them. And then they can sift through these applications to find the best talent in the world. That's just my opinion. It's no complaint, and I certainly don't want to take anything away from the creators. They deserve all of the praise that they can get. And they put out these inspiring short films online for us to watch for free. So I guess everybody wins. That being said, some of these academies, I don't know how much they charge, but it's not for everyone. Also, it's based in France. So if you don't live in France, you can't go. Or if you're not willing to relocate to France, you can't go. But if you want to learn animation without paying these high prices that typically come with these world-class academies, I have established an online learning platform at animatorguild.com, which teaches the foundations and above for 2D animation. It goes into advanced animation in mastering motion, and in my Getting Started course, I lay the foundations for drawing, animation, filmmaking, storyboarding, sound design, editing, everything you need to create films of your own. And you can take these courses, you can get that animation education for a tiny fraction of the price of what you would pay to learn at these traditional institutions. And you can do it from anywhere. You can do it from your own home. You can fit it into your schedule when you have spare time. And you can take the courses at any pace. You can take 5 years to take the course if you want, or you can take 5 weeks. It's up to you. It's not a platform for curation, it's a platform purely for education. So if you're interested in that, I will leave this link down in the description. I am a full-time freelance animation professional specializing in 2D frame-by-frame animation. Thanks for watching. Thank you to the creators of this animation for inspiring us, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.